Tariq Abu Khdeir is back in the U.S. after finding himself at the epicenter of the violent conflict that is now engulfing Israel, Gaza, and the Middle East. The 15-year-old American touched down in Tampa, Florida on Wednesday, returning from what started as a simple family vacation, a trip to Israel and the West Bank with his parents and sisters to spend the summer with their extended Palestinian family. The story of how Tariq's summer vacation became the subject of international diplomacy is the story of the run-up to the conflict that's raging on in Gaza right now as I speak. It all started with the disappearance of 3 Israeli yeshiva students in June. They were kidnapped while hitchhiking in the West Bank, leading to a massive manhunt for the Hamas militants presumed by the Israeli government to be responsible. 3 weeks later, the 3 Israeli teens were found dead, and amid outrage in Israel and widespread calls for revenge, a 16-year-old boy, Palestinian named Mohammed Abu Khdeir, went missing from the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Shafat. His body was found later that day, and an autopsy showed he had been beaten and burned alive. 3 Israelis confessed to carrying out the murder in retaliation for the deaths of those 3 Israelis. The suspects were indicted last week. Mohammed Abu Khdeir, the boy who was burned to death, was Tariq Abu Khdeir's cousin. And on the following day, amid clashes in East Jerusalem sparked by Palestinian anger over the murder, Tariq was apprehended by Israeli police and brutally beaten. The whole incident, as you can see, caught on tape. After international outcry and intervention by the State Department, he was released from police custody and held under house arrest in the West Bank for 9 days. No charges were filed, and on Wednesday, Tariq Abu Khdeir returned back to the United States. And Tariq Abu Khdeir and his mother, Suha Abu Khdeir, join me now. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
Tariq, let me start with you. You went to East Jerusalem for a family vacation. Before all this happened, what was it like?
It was actually really fun. I had made a lot of friends, and actually the first day I went there was like a party, and I met Mohammed at that party, and he was like my first friend, so we hung out a lot from that point.
You were hanging out in East Jerusalem, a couple of 15-year-old, 16-year-old boys in the summer hanging out, right?
Yeah.
You guys were going there, it'd been a while, right, since the family had been there? You have family there?
Yes, it'd been 11 years. I was going to change my mind just because, you know, financially right now, you know, everybody's in kind of a,
yeah.
you know. But Tariq really wanted to go visit his family over there. And so he kind of convinced.
And you hadn't spent much time over there, right? It had been since you were 4, is that right?
Yeah, the last time I have gone there was when I was 4 years old, and I missed everybody.
Mohammed, you obviously probably following the news about what's going on in Israel. There's a widespread outrage about the kidnapping and death of these 3 Israeli students. What happened how did you know when Mohammed had gone missing?
Well, that night we were all together, me, Mohammed, and all my other cousins. We were together playing games, right? Until
like video games, or
no, games as in like we were like playing board games, right? So after I left him to come back, because usually in Ramadan we have to like eat late at night so we can fast during the day.
So there's a big meal to break the fast at night after sundown, right?
Yeah. So I went out and I wanted to go to the bakery, and I walked by Mohammed, and he was just sitting by himself. And I asked him if he wanted anything from the bakery, and he was like, yeah, sure. And I went to the bakery, and I came back 5 minutes later, and I found a cop car there. What happened was I walked towards the cop car, and they didn't let me get any closer until I knew there was a problem, and I did not see Mohammed there. And that's how it started. So I called my family, and everybody came.
So he had been taken, right? At this point,
abducted.
He had been abducted,
right.
And did you know this? Did it circulate through the family very quickly, Suha?
Actually, yes. Once we got word of someone in the family being abducted, we had no idea who it was until we finally found out that it was Mohammed. And I knew that he'd been with him earlier that night. And I got really worried, you know. I didn't know what to expect. And everybody just gathered to find out, you know, Was he alive? Was he dead?
Tariq, when did you learn what had happened?
Well, until I called my family, and when I called my family, they all came, and then more cops came to the scene. And then I went to the cameras in the store, in front of the store, and we all saw 2 cars show up and kidnap Muhammad.
You saw on the videotape on the camera
yes.
that the stores had taken, that 2 cars had come and abducted him.
And abducted him. And then when everybody got down and wanted to see what happened, like at that point we were running out of time, and we all knew that, and we were telling the cops, like, at this point we were losing time, and the more time we waste, the more time he has, like, the more time that they have to try to kill him.
You all knew essentially immediately something terrible had happened.
Yeah.
That he'd been taken, and against the backdrop of what was happening in Israel at that point, there was some suspicion. There was a very intense atmosphere.
We figured that something terrible was going to happen to him. There was no way that they were going to, let him go.
And when did you? And then later that day, you found out.
Well, I was actually one of the first people to find out that he was kidnapped, until I called my family and everybody came. Like, they were asking, my family was asking me, where was I? I'm like, I'm outside and I need everybody to come down because there's a problem. And then after that, when the cops came and my family went down, we were talking to the cops. Then they said they sent a helicopter to see where they were. Then things escalated.
I want to talk to you about what happened after the news of his death spread, and the protests in East Jerusalem, and what happened with you and the cops. We're going to take a break and talk about that after the break, all right?